The best thing that can happen to me, according to my doctor, is for I to say.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of the APB podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be hearing from Kitkat again, who's going to take us through some of the enforcer law, and we're going to be meeting characters like Mayor Jane Derron and the Praetorians. So I guess without further ado, enjoy.
For the Praetorians, they're run by a man called Justin Teng. He is probably a business genius, I suppose. Very, very astute man, very knowledgeable. Has made serious amounts of money within the city. The Praetorians themselves are really, I suppose, it's almost like a kind of a corporate police force. They're backed by serious corporate money. They're very, very well equipped. But there's a lot of, I suppose, suspicion of them because of the sort of corporate masters, and there are definitely secret agendas about how the Praetorians are approaching things. And there's a level where Justin Teng, for instance, at some point would like to be, essentially the only sort of law enforcement within the city, and have the Praetorians be that. So for the Prentice Tigers, they're essentially a bunch of jocks. They're the kind of guys who like to hang out on a beach and have kegger parties. And if you imagine that it's someone like the prom king, prom queen, those styles of characters, if they made it into law enforcement, this is the group that they kind of are. They've all come from very wealthy families, particularly from an area called Prentice, and really their aims and objectives are, in a way, almost slightly more modest than some of the other groups, where what they want to do is really protect their home area, but in order to do that, they really have to push well out beyond its boundaries. And so it's almost American football players, parkour experts, that type of thing, fighting crime in a way.
Speaking confidentially, music wants to marry me. Over thresholds marry me, but out the gate I got the prenup. Yup, I'm about to call the shots. Block before you toss it off. Faster than the speed of thought. Plotting out with Molotovs, so mazel tov. Bottoms up, you drinking what I just cupped up.
So, on the enforcer side, the enforcer faction is run by a character called Jane Derron. Quite a lot of the story begins with her father, John Derron, about 15 to 20 years ago, something like that. And he was the original mayor of Paro. At the time that he was in power, the city itself was much more. It was more of a kind of more of a kind of a prohibition-style Chicago. At the time, there was a lot of crime families, crime bosses, a very corrupt police force, that kind of thing. And so he'd already been mayor for a little bit and was getting ready to push through some reforms into his third term when he essentially gets assassinated. Jane Derron is there and witnesses the whole thing. He's assassinated by somebody called Luke Wiskowy, and Luke Wiskowy is the head of the criminal faction. She decides to try and push some of these charities, ends up getting a few interviews. She's very, very sort of charismatic, very forceful individual. People start to listen to what it is she has to say. There's a particular interview she has with a sort of a representative of the mayor, where she basically pounds him into the earth in terms of coming up with some great and insightful things about Paro. She starts to get noticed. Various people decide they'd be very keen for her to move into politics. She's quite young, so a lot of them would really see her, I suppose, as an opportunity to try and gain some power in Paro, and she could be a very convenient figurehead for doing that. So one of the things she does there is she basically announces running for mayor and on the ticket for the Conservative Unionist Party, which is one of the sort of political parties in Paro, and then uses the information in those papers to essentially bring down a large proportion of the sort of ruling political figures. Basically, there's a massive sort of fallout from that, and afterwards. Essentially, she gets in a landslide and becomes the mayor of Paro.
So thanks to Kitkat for taking some time out of his busy schedule to talk to you guys. Now, next week's episode is going to be a Q&A special, so if you guys have got any questions on anything to do with APB at all, send them through to podcast@apb.com, and the best ones will get answered in next week's episode. So until then, see you later.
I know how to use any fucking gun that there is, any weapon there is. I will not stand for this shit. I'm gonna kill somebody.